Hello and welcome. So, we're jumping into a really big question today. Is it actually possible for a company to do good in the world and still make good money? We're going to break down what it means to be ethical, what it means to be environmentally friendly, and see if those two things, principles and profit, can actually work together. I mean, just think about it for a second. You're at the store, you grab your favorite snack, you're probably thinking about the taste, maybe the price, but what about the story behind it? Were the farmers who grew the ingredients treated okay? Is all this packaging just going to end up in the ocean? These are the kinds of questions that get us to the very heart of this topic. So, to get us started, it helps to think of this as two sides of the same coin. On one side, you've got ethical stuff. That's all about people. It's about fairness, honesty, and just doing the right thing by everyone involved. Then, on the other side, you have environmental considerations. This is all about the planet, reducing our impact and making sure we're not wrecking the place for future generations. All right, so let's dive into that first part, the human side of things. What does it really, truly mean for a business to be ethical? Well, at its core, an ethical business is one that tries to be fair and honest. But here's what's really key. That last part about balancing principles with profit. See, it acknowledges that this isn't always easy. Businesses face these tough calls all the time. Like, do you go with the cheaper supplier or the one that you know for a fact pays its workers a living wage? It's that constant push and pull, that balancing act that's at the center of it all. So you heard that word in the definition, stakeholders. That's a super important term here. It's not just about the owners or the shareholders. A stakeholder is basically anyone and everyone who is affected by what a business does. So who are we actually talking about? Well, first up, there's us, the customers. An ethical business needs to sell products that are safe and that actually do what they say they'll do. They also have to be straight up with their marketing, no sneaky, misleading claims. And this one is huge today. They have a massive responsibility to protect our personal data, which is backed up by serious regulations like GDPR. Okay, next up, the employees, the people who actually make the whole thing run. Being ethical here means things like paying a fair wage, making sure the workplace is safe, and giving everyone an equal shot, no matter who they are. It's about creating a culture of respect, which, let's be honest, is not only the right thing to do, it also just makes for a way better and more motivated team. And this sense of responsibility doesn't just stop at the company's front door. It extends outwards. We're talking about suppliers, paying them on time and not working with ones that exploit their workers. And it includes the local community, being a good neighbor by keeping noise and pollution down. This whole idea has a name, corporate social responsibility, or CSR. It's the belief that a company should actually make society better, not worse. So what's the bottom line on all this? Well, it's a classic trade-off, isn't it? The benefits are huge, a stellar reputation, customers who will stick with you no matter what. But the challenges on the other side are just as real. Doing things the right way often costs more, it makes your supply chain way more complicated, and there's always that pressure to just focus on the profit. This is the fundamental dilemma. Okay, so we've talked about people. Now let's switch gears and look at the other side of that coin, protecting our planet. How can businesses change the way they work to be more sustainable? At the end of the day, environmental responsibility is pretty simple. It's about trying to do as little harm to the natural world as possible. And the key idea here is sustainability, which is really just a way of saying, let's make sure we're not using up everything today so that there's nothing left for tomorrow. It's all about playing the long game. So, how do businesses even start to tackle this? Well, it usually breaks down into four big areas. First, just creating less waste. Second, being smarter about using resources like energy and water, which, by the way, also saves money. Third, cutting down on any pollution they create. And fourth, the really big one, shrinking their carbon footprint to help fight global warming. And believe me, each one of those is a massive undertaking. And just like with the ethical side, going green has its pros and cons. The upsides are awesome, a great brand image, attracting customers who care, and even saving money. But the roadblocks are pretty huge. The upside cost for green tech can be staggering, and trying to find suppliers who are genuinely sustainable, that can be a real headache. Okay, so that's all the theory. But what does this stuff actually look like when the rubber hits the road? Let's check out a few companies that are really walking the walk. First up, a company called Toast Ale. This is such a cool idea. Their entire business model is built around fighting food waste. They take leftover bread from bakeries that would just be thrown away, and they use it to brew beer. It's an absolutely brilliant way to turn a huge environmental problem into a product people love.
Then you've got an absolute giant in this space, Patagonia. These guys are legendary. They've built their whole brand on being transparent and making stuff that lasts forever. I mean, get this. They literally ran a famous ad campaign that told people not to buy a new jacket from them, but to get their old one repaired instead. It's a crazy strategy that has earned them an incredibly loyal following.
And over in the world of cosmetics, look at Lush. They are completely shaking things up by going to war with packaging waste. So many of their best-selling products, like their shampoo bars, come with absolutely zero packaging. They call them naked products. It's such a simple but powerful move that has literally prevented millions of plastic bottles from ever existing. And listen, this isn't just for small alternative brands. We're talking about huge mainstream companies like Innocent Drinks and even Krispy Kreme. They use certifications like the Rainforest Alliance to make sure their ingredients are grown sustainably and that the farmers get a fair price. It just goes to show you that these ideas can work at a massive global scale. So, all these examples prove that it can be done. But that brings us right back to that fundamental conflict, doesn't it? The great balancing act, the ultimate showdown, principles versus profit. I mean, that's the million-dollar question, right? Can a business really be a champion for people and the planet while also making a ton of money for its shareholders? Is it possible to have it all? This slide just lays out the dilemma perfectly. On one side, you've got the short-term hits to your wallet, paying people more, buying pricier, eco-friendly materials, investing in new green tech. But on the other side, you've got the long-term payoff, a rock-solid reputation, customers who would never leave you, and the ability to hire the absolute best people. The tough part is, the costs hit you right away, but those gains, they take time to build. So, after looking at all of this, where do we land? What is the final verdict? Are we at a point where doing good is just good for business? Well, all the signs are pointing to a pretty clear yes. Now, the challenges are still very real, but the tide is definitely turning. And why is that? It's because we, as customers, as employees, as investors, are starting to demand it. We're voting with our wallets and our careers. The goals of making a profit and having a purpose are starting to line up more and more. And really, that brings it all back to you. As a consumer, as a worker, maybe as a future entrepreneur, the choices you make have real power. So the next time you decide which company to support, what are you going to look for? Beyond just the price tag.